We're discussing a case out of British Columbia challenging vaccine passports in that province for failing to accommodate people who have need medical exemptions. It's a case that I'm involved with at the CCF. Now, Geoffrey, you're representing us in this case. What outcome are you hoping to achieve?
Yeah, so we're asking the court to rule that the current policy with its inadequate medical exemptions is unconstitutional. Practically, that means it'll strike down the regime, but give the government a chance to redraft it in a way that accommodates constitutional rights.
It would be a great result for these individuals, although there's no recourse for the months that they've lost and spent in isolation. Now, the policy is ending. It's ending on April 9th, and our hearing is on April 19th. So interesting timing. The government has said they're phasing it out. So what impact does that have on the case, if at all?
Well, the government wants it to result in the case not being decided at all. They want to argue that it's moot. We're going to say, firstly, Dr. Henry herself has said that some kind of vaccine passport could come back in the fall when we're into the fall respiratory season. We've seen, increases in cases both of the last two fall seasons. But generally, based on the fact that emergency health orders like this will always be either repealed or revised by the time someone gets them before a judge, it would really insulate government from constitutional review. And so we're going to ask the court to hear it in any event, which it has the discretion to do, to give guidance to government.
Yeah, it's very evasive of review for the government to make this claim. They're making a similar claim in the Emergencies Act litigation that I'm also involved in. Now, if this law is found to be unconstitutional, which is the outcome that we're looking for, would it have an impact outside of British Columbia? Might other provinces look at this policy and the decision and see it as a form of guidance?
Yeah, so it's not, a BC decision is not binding on other provinces, but for sure, Canadian courts look to decisions in other provinces for guidance. We've seen that so far with all sorts of COVID decisions. And in general, as we've seen, Canadian courts have been really quite cautious about being seen to overturn, public health or government in terms of, what's seen to be essential, fast-moving public health protections. This is one of those situations where the facts are so bad that we hope that the court will call a government to account on this, and that if one judge does that, we're hopeful that in other provinces, other courts will, feel that they have, enough support now to start doing the same.
Now, in most of the other provinces, the vaccine passports have been repealed already. BC is lagging in that regard. But how did those other provinces, they could always bring them back in the fall, as BC has said. How did those other provinces like Ontario, Quebec, how did their regimes compare to British Columbia's?
So I believe BC's was the most restrictive. Certainly in Ontario, I know that doctors, certainly in the early months, were able to write direct exemption letters that were legally effective without needing to be agreed to by a bureaucrat. I believe that shifted over time because they were concerned about fraudulent letters. But surely the cure for fraudulent letters is to prosecute fraud. It's not to tighten things up so much that people who are genuinely ought to be entitled to an exemption can't get them.
Now, a lot of people are interested in this case. How can they watch if they're interested, and how can people learn more about it?
Yeah, so I'm not sure yet whether there's going to be a live stream for the actual court hearing or not. I know that the CCF will be on the ground here in BC during that case, making sure that the information gets out. So people should follow the CCF's website, theccf.ca, and they can donate there as well to the case.
Yeah, and I'm going to be on the ground with you. I'm going to be in court watching it, so I'll try to be tweeting out the developments as they happen from the courtroom. That's on April 19th and 20th, just in a few short weeks.